Ladies and gentlemen, hope you've been enjoying your summer so far. To interrupt your wonderful, wonderful summer, we do have a bit of a Joel Embiid Paul George update from Brett Siegel of Clutch Points. Now, two things on Brett Siegel where I started to take him seriously. Last offseason, Brett Siegel had an article basically about how the 76ers are going to miss the services of Tobias Harris and how signing Paul George does not help them any more than they had been being helped by Tobias Harris. I had an emotionally negative response to that report, and he ended up being dead on the money. Now, I don't really think the 76ers missed Tobias Harris specifically, but I do agree that letting Tobias Harris go and signing Paul George to a max contract did absolutely nothing for the team. He ended up being 100% on the money with that take. Also, he was one of the first to report that the 76ers were steering away from Ace Bailey in the NBA draft and having their eyes set on VJ Edgecombe. At the time, we thought that was totally unrealistic. We thought Ace Bailey was a lock at number 3. He ended up being right about that too. So with those two things, I'm going to take everything Brett Siegel says for the rest of eternity as absolute fact. And here is what he said recently about Paul George and Joel Embiid. It was posted by AP Hoops. Word around the league is that the status of Joel Embiid's knee is bad, and Paul George is expected to miss the start of 76ers training camp. Now, most 76ers fans already know Joel Embiid's knee is bad. We knew it last year. I personally was saying it while the 76ers front office was claiming that he's going to be ready to go. He's just ramping up. He's just going through his return to on-court activity, all that stuff. I was the one screaming, he is injured. They are lying. You know what I mean? It was obvious to me almost 2 years ago. Most Sixers fans that I talk to outside of the cellar dwellers on the internet already know Joel Embiid's knee is bad. Most people agree that Joel Embiid is cooked, and it's pretty hard to imagine him ever getting back on the floor. But for a guy who definitely seems to have to at least be in the circle of NBA executives and rumors flying around, he's at least seems to have a feel for what conversation is happening around the league. That solidifies the way that we feel. We're not shocked by the news, but it does solidify the way that we feel. It's becoming more and more difficult for the 76ers front office to lie to the fans about Joel Embiid. I'm not really sure how they're going to get away with a 3-year extension that doesn't kick in until 2026 when we all feel like he's not going to play another game in the NBA. So that's news, I guess. It's not good news, but we didn't expect good news anyway. The Paul George expected to miss the start of 76ers training camp is news that I wouldn't say that we expected. We knew Paul George had surgery on his knee after a workout. You know, we got guys that are in their mid-30s who can't even complete a workout anymore without injuring themselves. We know Paul George had knee soreness. He had a minor procedure on the knee. We thought that with enough time before training camp, Paul George would be totally fine, especially the Paul George defenders on cellardweller.com, which is Twitter. They anytime I say something negative about their hero, they come at me. Their initial reaction to that Paul George knee surgery report was, you're overreacting. They got plenty of time until training camp starts. It was a small procedure. He'll be ready to go. Brett Siegel, on the other hand, tells us Paul George is expected to miss the start of 76ers training camp. This wasn't like an official article that he put out specifically or anything. A fan just asked him on Twitter, when are Joel Embiid and Paul George updates coming? And he said the only updates are that George is out for the start of training camp and may not play in the preseason. We're actually going to go into this. Shit's hilarious to me, bro. I'm sorry. I'm not even angry anymore. It's the funniest organization in all of sports. It is a flat-out VH1 TV show. The only updates that are out are George is out for the start of training camp and may not play in the preseason. As for Embiid, there is genuine concern about his knee health. Of course, word from Philly gets downplayed. I love that he says that. Of course, word from Philly gets downplayed. But around the league, word is bad. Now, if we learned anything from last season, the word from Philly was that Joel Embiid was okay. And the word from around the league and the fan base was it doesn't seem okay. And we were right. And Brett Siegel is telling us once again, the word from Philly is that, they're downplaying it, but around the league, word is bad. And an article was written around this report on the things that Brett Siegel had to say. And at the end of this article, there is a little insert here that I think needs to be read out loud. Philadelphia 76ers might look to their future instead. If the current prognosis for both their star players are as bad as Siegel is reporting, then it might be time for the 76ers to make some changes. Well, when they're both signed until 2028 and 2029, and they have absolutely no trade value because of massive contracts combined with their inability to play more than 2 games in a row, how are you going to move on from them? You know what I mean? Both Embiid and George are on the wrong side of 30 and don't have much time left to play high-level basketball. I don't think they have any time left to play high-level basketball. Furthermore, their advanced ages, George's especially being 35, means that their recovery times are also far longer than those of a younger player. So you said they need to move on, and then you said all of the ways that they can't move on. If the 76ers decide that risk is just not worth the reward, then they actually have a great starting point to move on from the 2 stars. Okay, you actually are saying that they can trade them? They'd get a decent haul for both? No, they won't. Who the fuck is giving up a decent haul for players who you just said are injured, are on the wrong side of 30, and can't recover from injury? How would they get a decent haul? If they could land some inexpensive contracts and good prospects to pair with Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, the Sixers might not have to endure another. Nobody's trading for those contracts. That's an absolutely ridiculous take. But anyway, in discussing this Joel Embiid and Paul George topic, somebody DM'd me, and I'm not gonna, expose, who they are or anything like that. But here was the response about Joel Embiid's knee being bad. Okay, he said, "Yo, this is not true at all. I know someone who actually works with Dr. Glashaw and knew about Embiid getting surgery a week before it was announced, and when Paul George was having his knee cleaned up 3 days before it was announced. Embiid is literally in rehab and constantly at the office." Okay. To the person that DM'd me, what does you knowing somebody who works with the doctor who did Joel Embiid's knee surgery have anything to do with the fact that Joel Embiid can't get on the floor? I don't care if you know Dr. Glashaw himself. I don't care if you're Dr. Glashaw's fucking brother. That doesn't change anything. You can't just be like, "Hey, that's not true at all. I know the doctor that did his knee surgery." Okay? He's still cooked? What are you talking about? I don't care if you are Dr. Glashaw. Embiid has literally been in rehab constantly at the office. Yes, we know Joel Embiid is constantly in rehab. That doesn't mean he's going to play. So I responded and said, nobody said Joel Embiid hasn't been in rehab. He's always in rehab. What is not true about the tweet? And he said, the person who said Embiid's knee is bad. I've literally seen Embiid's x-rays of his knee, the before and after. Glashaw has been on Embiid's recovery and is on pace to recover that knee for a full repair. Glashaw is the real deal. Same doctor who repaired Kawhi's knee. Now, thank you for the free content. But again, I don't care if you are Dr. Glashaw himself. I don't know what you looking at the x-rays of his knee have anything to do with what his knee actually looks like or whether he'll get back on the court. You still haven't really said anything that should lead me to feel like he's going to get back on the court. I said he had a full repair last surgery. He played in the Olympics and he missed the whole season with knee swelling. Why should I believe this guy fixed his knee? Embiid's knee is bad. Nicholas Batum said he can't believe he's able to walk. If you remember the comments from Nicholas Batum, who was Joel Embiid's teammate. Now, again, no shade at all. I'm not trying to roast you publicly. But I just want to respond to this DM honestly and use it for content on YouTube. I'm sorry. Who should I believe? Joel Embiid's former teammate who saw his knee, or a guy on Twitter that says he knows the doctor, or he knows someone that works with the doctor and has seen his x-rays? Nicholas Batum said, I was sitting next to him in the locker room. I saw his knee before every game and after every game. I saw his knee. I have no idea how he could even walk. Joel Embiid's knees are absolutely cooked. And I think we are getting closer and closer to my prediction. My prediction at the end of last season was that Joel Embiid is going to medically retire. I said that because he struggled this season before in the playoffs, fresh off a knee surgery. He played in the Olympics. He looked terrible. He had a solid game against Jokic in Serbia on the block, but athletically and fitness-wise, he looked terrible. He had one slam dunk in the Olympics where he landed on his feet and did a somersault onto the floor because he can't dunk and land on his legs anymore. And then he played 13 games in an entire season and was basically out the whole time with knee swelling, and then had another surgery. My prediction was that Joel Embiid is going to medically retire because it looks like he can't play anymore. It just does. The last time we saw him play, he just looks like he can't do it anymore. Why should I believe that he's going to be healthy and get back to an all-star level? It just doesn't look like that. And now we get this report. 2 months out of training camp, Joel Embiid's knee is bad. Word around the league is Joel Embiid's knee is bad. Joel Embiid's saying that he's not going to rush it this time and is in his house doing interviews, giving a whole bunch of excuses about what happened in the process instead of talking to us about when he's going to play or how he's doing. I don't see it getting better. It doesn't sound to me like Joel Embiid really wants to do it anymore because it's constant injury, surgery, rehab, injury, surgery, rehab. I think he will medically retire. I think this upcoming season might stamp that prediction in concrete. That's all I got, man. Enjoy the rest of your summer.